You're watching Notepad. I'm your host Ibrahim Sani, and on the eve of World Mental Health Day on October 10th, we have to talk about the suicide prevention initiatives and efforts that is currently being done in this country. The World Health Organization says that the number of countries with national suicide prevention strategies has increased in the past 5 years, but the number of countries with strategies at just 38 is far too few in and around the world. The World Health Organization urges more governments to introduce interventions for reducing national suicide rates. This include restricting access to means, implementing programs among young people to build skills to cope with life stresses, and early identification and lowering the risk in general in the build-up towards lowering the risk of suicide. And in Malaysia, while the official statistics changes from one organization to another, one thing that we really need to talk about is how some individuals and some organizations are actually actively trying to assist Malaysians on managing their mental health in general, and perhaps to address the issues of ending their life prematurely. So joining me is the Befrienders Kuala Lumpur chairman, Justin Victor. Justin, thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us. There's a little bit of self-culpability here, because we missed the boat for World Suicide Prevention Day, but still October is still the month of World Mental Health Day, and what better to talk about this than talk about the people that actually deal with some of the high-risk individuals out there. Could you tell us a little bit about what Befrienders does? And in doing so, could you explain to us some of the cases that you could share when people call you?
Okay, yeah. So Befrienders is actually a worldwide organization, and in Kuala Lumpur we've been here since 1970. It's an NGO fully staffed by volunteers, and we run a 24/7 helpline, telephone helpline, and our goal is actually suicide prevention through offering emotional support, and that's mainly to the telephone and email. And the other is actually reaching out to the public in terms of public awareness programs and education for various things, to upskill people in basic things on how to listen, how to help people to understand what they're going through in terms of mental health problems, and also to hopefully reduce the stigma surrounding mental health. Often enough, people say suicide, why are we focusing so much on suicide? That is the end stage, but a lot of the people that we are seeing are actually going through mental health problems. So it's very relevant and related when we talk about World Mental Health Day and World Suicide Prevention Day a month ago. So so that's very much what we do.
Why would they reach out to Befrienders and not go and seek help from a psychiatrist, for instance?
Okay, I think generally it's very difficult for someone going through problems, very troubled, very mixed up, etc., to talk to anybody about it. So the Befrienders approach is offering a totally confidential service, and one can call and no need to introduce themselves or to reveal anything about their details. So that gives a lot of freedom for the people to speak out. Even that itself, a lot of people find difficult to do, pick up and call for, reach out to somebody for help like us. So it's not uncommon for us to get calls where it's like silent calls. We get the call, we pick up the phone, someone's silent on the other end, and then they put it down.
It's not prank calls?
Most likely not, because prank calls, they probably go on to say something. Yeah.
So these are the individuals that want to reach out, but they can't bring themselves to speak out and speak up on the issues, even when there's another person ready to listen to on the other end.
So this is a really big part about the whole mental health programs or plans for the country, to get people to start to talk about it, both for just letting it out and reducing the stigma, and the other is actually to get help. So even the government, through the Ministry of Health and all, has started the Let's Talk Malaysia campaign. They're going to be focusing on this. Get people, come on, come out, talk about it, talk against things that may be causing people to have stress, depression, etc. And most of all, if you are going through some troubled moments, reach out to somebody for help. And extremely important that this is done at the earliest stage when somebody is having problems. Because if they leave it to fester, all that's going to happen is that they're going to get worse and worse and worse, and then finally to the point that they feel so helpless and hopeless, and that's when suicide ideation may come in.
I'm so sorry, Justin. The problem, I suppose, with mental health is that sometimes patients don't know that they are having a mental illness. I mean, it's not like cancer. It's not like, it's the manifestation, physical manifestation of an illness where you can actually look at it and treat it. Even then, there are some issues of people in denial. I don't have cancer or whatever, right? But for mental health, even the person going through it has a tough time identifying that he or she has mental illness. How do you approach that kind of problem when people don't know how to identify that they themselves have mental illness?
Well, I think the distinction has to be made between mental health problems and mental health illness. So mental health problems is basically someone who's having difficulty in dealing with the normal tasks of life over a short period of time. So that could be the start of leading on to mental illness. Mental illness, then you go to those that may have some label or some specific name for it as a syndrome. And that's usually the work of professionals like the psychiatrists and psychologists who would identify these things. But from our approach, from the Befrienders and organizations like ours, maybe, there are a few other helplines also, that is not a concern for us. We are not into diagnosing what people are going through or not trying to give them therapeutic suggestions. But it's really just to be there to support them through that time, based on a very strong belief that this active listening, this listening with empathy, non-judgmentally, can already be a big help for somebody going through problem. So if early, you're saying that maybe people don't realize they have mental illness. So it doesn't matter. When you're going through a tough time, you need to be talking to somebody. If it's not your family or your friends because of some personal lack of confidence in the others or feelings of shame, etc. So services like ours offer that outlet where we don't know who they are, they can speak to us confidentially, anonymously, everything's kept secret, we don't tell anybody, so they'll have much more freedom to do that. But of course, the first level is anyone going through a trouble needs to be reaching out. A student in school needs to be reaching out to their teacher or the lecturer or the school counselor.
It's free, right, this phone call?
For us, Befrienders, it's free. We don't charge anything, and since 1st of August, MCMC, Malaysian Multimedia Communications Commission, has got together several service providers, and now people can call the line for free. Kuala Lumpur or rest of the country, a few other places. So that is, I think, a big help, and we've already seen a growth in the number of calls we are receiving.
How many calls do you get?
In the last few years, we've been seeing a growing number. So from the calls alone are from anywhere between the last few years, 22, 23, and then last year was 24,000 already. But also we offer the email service. So our total contacts for Befrienders KL is about 30,000 in a year. And that works out to right now, again, since August 1st, since the lines the calls are free to Befrienders, we are seeing about 80 to 100 calls per day on a 24-hour cycle.
And of course, this is an NGO, there's no profit coming from it. So most of your funding comes from donations.
Yes, so we rely on the public to, for their well wishes. Some companies or some organizations run some fundraisers for us. They are just open, straight out donations.
We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more about Befrienders and their work in managing mental health. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Notepad. We're talking about World Mental Health Day that is falling on October 10th. And of course, the month of October is the month of World Mental Health. You touched about, sorry, let me reintroduce you. My guest today is the Befrienders Kuala Lumpur chairman, Justin Victor. Justin, earlier you were talking about the Let's Talk campaign, and I've been part of the Let's Talk campaign for 2 years running, and that was an important element where the government wants or urges people to come out and just share their thoughts and feelings. But the problem here is that our culture doesn't necessarily facilitate that kind of open conversation. Do you think that has impeded the work that people like your organization do in trying to tease out or help people, going through their troubles?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you take it at a very basic level. It is very difficult to reach out when you are troubled and when you are all mixed up. And I'm saying it goes along a lot with the stigma that people have, Any mention or any sign of showing that they are not being able to handle their life, or being so troubled or down, etc., for over a long period of time, seems to be a sign of weakness, maybe, or they think so, and therefore don't want to show that, for various reasons. And worse is that often enough, when these signs or these things that someone is going through becomes very strong, then it often becomes labeled as being crazy or having, being odd or
basically
weird,
some
etc.
sort of stigma or a label attached to these individuals.
Yeah, so that maybe is what prevents a lot of people from reaching out, or speaking to somebody. So again, I mean, not only our service, but a service like ours where there's confidentiality and anonymity for the callers is helpful.
What kind of callers call in? What kind of people reach out to you?
All kinds, actually. We're seeing a whole range from across races and religions in the country. More women than men call as a general profile.
More women than men?
Yeah, more women than men. I suppose it's the basic anecdote that women more easily speak and share what they are thinking.
Not in
and
my
feeling.
marriage, Justin. I speak 10 times a lot more than my wife does.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and then men are a little more silent and not so easily share. So yeah, general profile is that, more women, but we also see a lot between the ages of 15 to 29, what is generally seen as youth, calling in nowadays, and a lot of them are also emailing us from a even younger age, so 12, 13, etc., with problems. What kind of problems? All kinds of things. Of course, the more common ones would be relationship, for the older people maybe. And then for the younger people, it's stress, it's bullying, it's a sense of being lost, etc. And all of that, whatever it is, when it comes to a point where they are feeling helpless and hopeless, I think is often the time that they reach out to us. So what we appeal and what we want and what the government is doing is to appeal to people, don't wait until that it's so bad, Already when you're starting to have some problems, do reach out. Of course, on a normal basis, everybody faces problems and goes through stress.
I mean, literally, just this morning I had a problem. Somebody's blocking my car, right? So that's a problem I face.
So and if it lasts just a little while and then you slowly find a way out of it, etc., then it is generally all right. But the rule of thumb is if that same issue persists and you continue to have that either down feeling or angry feeling or sad feeling or stress feeling for over 2 weeks, then it's becoming a mental health problem. Not yet illness, of course.
Okay, so when we opened this show, we talked about the World Health Organization trying to ask or implore upon governments to actually implement programs among young people to build skills to cope with life stresses.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a big thing for your profile, for Befrienders' profile. I didn't expect people to be that young to be reaching out.
Yeah, it's happening and it's good. We're happy. The people tend to say that they like using maybe some of the social media to reach out. Some of our other centers do that. We are just overwhelmed by calls alone. But I think calls also are still quite prominent in this whole place of helping, because there's nothing like hearing another human voice. Text alone doesn't quite do all of it.
Okay, so you were saying that on average 30,000 calls per year.
Yeah, 30,000 contacts, calls,
touch points.
Yeah, because
30,000
6,000 or so are email.
Okay, so we're looking at over 20,000 calls.
24,000, yeah.
Over 24,000. So that's like divided by 12. That's like 2,000 calls per month.
Yeah.
How many people do you have?
We have about 115 volunteers, and so we man the
That's not
telephones.
enough.
Yeah, not
And
enough.
it's 24/7.
Yes, 24/7. So maybe it's also a time for a call out to look out for when we are recruiting and ask more people to come forward. No,
How do you? All right. So there you have it. Befrienders is reaching out to individuals out there who want to help out. If you want to volunteer for free, I suppose.
Yes.
Right. Volunteer and try to earn a little bit more of a sense of fulfillment. Please reach out to Befrienders because they really need volunteers. On that note, how do you train volunteers to ensure that they can manage those calls accordingly? Well, we will talk about that after this. Don't go anywhere. We're talking to Befrienders Kuala Lumpur. You're watching Notepad. I'm talking to Befrienders Kuala Lumpur Chairman Justin Victor. Justin, before we went for a break, I was asking you, how do you train volunteers to manage those calls or answer those emails as best as they could? What's the training process like?
Yeah, well, it is, I think, fairly rigorous, because these are the people who will be having to take calls of people who may be actually on the brink, and really in a bad state. So we take our training quite seriously. So on the most basic level, or general level, we could say it takes about 8 months to become a full-fledged befriender. So that includes a few months of actually workshops and mock trainings and some input on mental health, etc., etc. And then several other months, few more months on kind of supervised listening and calling. So that means the trainees get to speak to real callers, and then supervisor listens in, and then they process the calls in terms of helping the trainee to understand what could have been done better, how was the befriending done, how do we handle this kind of particular cases or issues, etc. And then after that, there's still a bit more of time of probation before finally the person is allowed to be a full-fledged befriender.
Demography also plays a major role. And I'm pretty sure that you have specific befrienders that are trained in Bahasa Malaysia, in Cantonese, in Tamil, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on your individual capabilities. Many, of course, whatever race can speak Bahasa Malaysia, but the other language groups, a little more limited, like say Chinese, Tamil, etc. So even you talk about Chinese, there's Mandarin and there's Cantonese, etc. So so that how we deal with it is, if we know somebody asking for specifically a particular language, then we can see and advise them to call at a certain time where there will be somebody who will be able to...
That's not optimal. This is not a... I mean, the reason the individual rang Befrienders at that particular time was because he needed or she needed help the most.
But we don't have the language capabilities at every hour of the day.
So, how is Befrienders being funded? Do you get help from the government?
Very minimal at the moment. Yeah, we get a small grant from Jabatan Kebajikan, which covers our basic utilities for the year. But
you have to beg for this cash?
No, not really. It's already in our annual plan. I mean, another day, it's in their annual plan. We, of course, occasionally would ask for more from ministry, etc. And indirectly sometimes, and we're looking at some more maybe coming in by us helping in some of the trainings of their own staff too. But otherwise, it's really from the public through just general individual well-wishers or fundraising activities that we have. Sometimes we ourselves do it. Sometimes various groups, organizations, university groups, etc. would do campaigns or events and raise funds for us. Yeah.
Do you get a lot of cash or donation from individual donors, in fact, anonymous donors, things like that?
Occasionally, slightly larger amounts, 10, 20, but not regularly. Yeah, not regularly.
What would be the major challenge for Befrienders moving forward in helping the society?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think we definitely need to grow the number of people who will be manning the lines, because already we are in a way fully subscribed. That means we're having call after call and people already saying that they can't get through and wanting to get through, which means we have to open up more lines, which means then we have to have more volunteers. So that's a big thing. We need to grow our pool of helpers and through the years, you know. There's no real clear, maybe about 200 at least, I think, to be able to man it more efficiently. Then we're talking about opening up. We already have 2 lines. It's one number, but it goes to 2 lines.
But your job title is Befrienders Kuala Lumpur, so I'm assuming there's Befrienders elsewhere.
Yeah, they are. But I think because of our existence since 1970, a lot of people already know us and know our number, and we are the only one which has a 24/7 service. There are 8 other centers in the rest of the country, but they have more limited time services, and also largely because of the same issue, difficulty in getting volunteers. Yeah.
You know, Justin, I hate to ask you this. I really do, but I have to. Do you know your success rate in helping out individuals?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question. Everybody
it is, right? And sorry, let me just justify why I hate asking that. Because number one, you don't know who calls you, number one. But number two, this is not a hard and fast business kind of thing, right? I mean, that's that. But people still need to know how successful are you in helping out callers?
I can only say that in a way we don't have any statistics, because how do you gauge success? That somebody does not go on to end their life or feels better after that? So that's usually not something we know for certain. At the end of the call, often enough, we may check, or the person may say thank you, or we may ask, so how are you feeling now? And they say, I'm feeling a little better. So those are the only gauges that we have. And maybe the other kind of indicator of success, if you want to call it, is that there are a growing number of people who are calling us, needing our service. So in an odd way, that is, in a way, some success in at least getting people to reach out, more people to understand that they can call us or reach out to us for help. So that's,
and I can agree. That's more of a derivative of how things are going for you guys, right? Okay. What would be the options for people to reach out to Befrienders?
We have a phone line, of course, 0379568145. But if you go to our website, it's befrienders.org.my, and you look for centers in Malaysia, it's got a list of other centers, numbers, and their times of service. So if people do that, I think it's become a habit. So you get calls from Kota Kinabalu, KT, Johor, Malacca, where some of these places, there are already centers also. So then maybe that may give people more options on where they can call when, say, Befrienders KL is busy or the lines are busy. I suppose a lot of them who can't reach outside of the other center service times are calling us. Oh, that's fine. So just to know that that's other source that they have. And of course, those who prefer to write rather than speak, we have the email. It's sam@befrienders.org.my. And we will respond also. But just to say that responding to email will be a little slower, because it takes a while for us to get around to completing the so many that we get. All the factor of this, of needing and not having enough volunteers.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are the 2 main ways. And the other that we encourage people also, if we do public education and awareness talks, so those who are keen on learning how to help people or on understanding suicide, etc., welcome to invite us, and we are happy to go and share what we know and help people to help others.
All right, so there's plenty of ways people can reach out to you. World Mental Health Day is on October the 10th, and of course the whole month of October is dedicated to talk about mental health. One of them, of course, is on suicide. I urge everyone out there watching this particular interview to learn more about what Befrienders does and how you can help not just Befrienders but the activities in and around the country on managing mental health. If you've missed any part of this interview, just head on to astroawani.com, search for Notepad. We have all these interviews there. You can also watch and listen to this interview on your mobile devices. Just download Astro AWANI app wherever you get the application. I've been speaking to Befrienders Kuala Lumpur Chairman Justin Victor. Thanks for coming. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having us.
All the best. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.